Is it permissible to marry a person of a different faith? Is it permissible to marry a person of a different faith? So there are several questions built into this question. The one is, are we speaking about a Muslim man or a Muslim woman? Because the ruling is going to differ. As for a Muslim woman, to marry a Muslim woman cannot marry except a Muslim man, right? A Muslim woman cannot marry a person of a different faith at all. There's no differences of opinion about this issue within traditional Islam. And anybody who claims otherwise should bring, the evidence to you. But as far as the four schools of thought is concerned, a Muslim woman can only marry a Muslim man. A concession is made for a Muslim man to marry a woman of the Ahlul Kitab. Not a non-Muslim woman, not a disbelieving woman, not an atheist woman, not a polytheist woman, but a woman of the Ahlul Kitab. So who are the Ahlul Kitab? The Ahlul Kitab are primarily the Yahud and the Nasara, right? Some scholars would add other groups, specific groups in there as well, but the Yahud and the Nasara predominantly. That's the general, rather expansive definition of Ahlul Kitab. But according to the Shafi'i school, Ahlul Kitab is more specific than that. The only Ahlul Kitab that the Shafi'i school permits a Muslim man to get married to are those who belong to the original 12 tribes of the Bani Israel, or those whose family or ancestors had embraced that faith, the faith that they are following, before the religion was changed and corrupted. So we are speaking about pre-Nabi Isa ﷺ's time for the Yahud. And in terms of Nabi Isa ﷺ's time, some say the Council of Nicaea, people that had embraced Christianity before that time. And that's a very, very restricted group in the Shafi'i school, right? I know that you do still get some people of this type, but it's not as common as just saying everyone who belongs to the Yahudi or Nasrani faith. So for the Shafi'i school, that is the restriction there. Now, a point of application, even though this is the ruling, and even though this is the more restrictive approach of the Shafi'i school, one of the key factors that led to the success of the Cape Muslim minority community to have survived for 400 plus years and thrived in the community despite being a overwhelming minority, right? So the Muslim population in the Western Cape Town is only 6%. And in South Africa, the Muslim population is 2%, right, of the population. Yet if you were to study the inroads that Islam has in these communities, it's quite amazing. One of the contributing factors to this is that since the inception of this community, the scholars had refused to open up the door of expansion or the door of interfaith marriages except where people embrace Islam first and then they would marry them. So up until now, you would be challenged to find a traditional scholar within these communities who would be willing to marry a Muslim man to a Ahlul Kitab woman under any circumstance. You would be challenged to find that. They would probably either refuse, send them to a higher judiciary body, or they would request for the woman to first embrace Islam. They could just have said, well, the more expansive definition, we don't have to take the Shafi'i definition, but they didn't. They kept that door closed. And that's one of the reasons what I mean thereby is it's not that particular rule, but this approach, this methodology. Fiqh al-aqalliyat, the fiqh of minorities, right? Fiqh that applies to minority situations shouldn't always be about making things easy and taking concessions and taking dispensations. At times, because it's a minority, the fiqh should be even more restricted than it would be in a Muslim majority situation because of the precarious nature of the ummah, the fragility of the ummah in those regions. So where in other times or other circumstances we may open up certain doors, as we said, because it's rahmah, there are times when these doors need to be restricted, right? Restricted, not completely closed. We don't have the right to do so, but to restrict it to the point where it no longer really happens for a greater purpose, for a higher objective, and that would be the protection of Islam in the community. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best.
La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah.